I'm Lori Mills, and I am with Edwin, and I'm here with my partner, Sherry Ross, who's going to help monitor the chat. This is a focused workshop on using math with Edwin and for the secondary intermediate set. So we have it set for 9 and 10, and you will see that we have educators from across Canada. So before we begin, I'd like to start off with a land acknowledgement. Nelson's head office, which is Edwin, is situated upon traditional territories of the Wendat, the Anishinaabe Nation, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, the Mississaugas of Scugog, the Hiawatha First Nation, Alderville First Nation, and the Métis Nation. This treaty covering this land in Ontario, Toronto, Ontario, is collectively known as the Williams Treaties of 1923. And as I'm presenting today from Nova Scotia, I wish to recognize the significant contributions of Indigenous people across this land and today in Nova Scotia. This is Mi'kma'ki, and it's a traditional territory of the Mi'kmaq people. We are all treaty people, and our relationship is based on peace and friendship. So today is going to be a quick exploration of how a teacher might use Edwin in a math class or math lesson. There is no right or wrong way to use Edwin for math, and teachers are finding new ways to teach with Edwin all the time. What I hope to show you here today are some great practices for using Edwin in math, and perhaps illuminate some things you may have missed in your launching orientation or through your own exploration. Today I'm going to concentrate on the Ontario Library, but these strategies are applicable no matter where you are in the country, and so I encourage you to explore not only your own libraries, but also other provinces' libraries as well. And we can show you after the presentation how you can access those libraries. Just be mindful, of course, that as you change provinces, the curriculum changes too, but math is universal. So if you're looking for stuff, you can go in other provinces as well and see what they have. I'd like to also mention that, as I said, this is more for intermediate teachers in grade 9 and 10. And right now in the Edwin Library, we have grades 9 and 10 content available in Ontario. All the other provinces, we go up just as far as grade 9. Edwin is working to have more content in the higher grades and the lower grades, but for now, we have 9 and 10 in the Ontario curriculum, and we hope to expand upon that in the future. So for today's topics, these are the 3 topics that we are going to look at today. First, we're going to look at the Edwin Library, and I'm going to show you some strategies for finding some great math content in your library. The second topic we're going to look at is our virtual manipulatives, or our Edwin math tools, and we're going to look at how you can use those in an intermediate classroom using Edwin. And lastly, in terms of filling our instructional toolbox, we're going to look at leveraging our own custom collections and adding our own resources to create math lessons in Edwin. So let's go to the first one, which is exploring that Edwin library. I'm going to move over to Edwin. So here I am in my Edwin home screen, and I know I'm in my Edwin home screen because of that first icon on the left. It's highlighted in blue, and also my little breadcrumb, my little blue dot tells me I am in Edwin. And the first thing I'm going to do is I want to dive into my library. So as I said, I'm in the Ontario Library, but you can be in your libraries in your own provinces. And what I'm going to do is go over to here, Principles of Mathematics Academic for grade 9. Actually, I'm going to go over, I wanted to be in Applied. I'm going to go into Applied for now. We have 2 subject available in Ontario for grade 9, academic and applied. When I click on my subject area, just as a pro tip, you can open up the entire library for that subject by clicking under content on that very first heading. No matter what subject you're in or what grade level or what province, that first heading is always going to be the same. And when I click on that, it's going to open up the entire library. And you can see for this one, for Foundations of Mathematics, grade 9, I have 142 results in total. So if you ever want to look at your library as a whole, that's the way you do it. So that's our first pro tip for this evening, is going in and seeing the whole library. Just click on that first heading. What I want to do, though, is I'm going to go down to ratios, rates, and proportions, because I want to give you a pro tip on what you do when you're looking at a particular topic in math, and how those resources are listed is important. So I'm going to go into ratios, rates, and proportions, and let's say I'm teaching a lesson on ratios, rates, and proportions. When I pull that up in my library, you can see that I have 18 results, and I can scroll down, and each resource is listed here as a learning object. And you can see that I have a video here. There's a couple of videos. I've got an interactive learning object here. So the icons that are on top of these learning objects, that gives you an idea of what type of content it is as well, which is important when we're trying to lesson plan, to know the difference between what's a video, what's something that is interactive and gives students feedback, and what is more of a text-based learning object. So that's the first tip that I wanted to give you when you're planning in Math and Edwin. The next one is how these learning objects are listed, and they're actually listed in sequential order. So for instance, if I was introducing the topic on ratios, rates, and proportions, the learning objects that are at the top of my search are more of my introductory resources. And as I move down my list, I'm going to dive deeper into the topic. And at the end, I'm going to see more of those kind of summary types of learning objects. Like this one, here's a test that students can do. It's interactive. They can see their answers, and they can use that to just see their understanding for that unit. So that's the first sort of big tip that we wanted to give today, is just how to search your libraries and knowing how learning objects come up when you're doing that sort of search. I'm going to go back to my home screen now. I always like to search my subject areas first when I'm starting to plan a lesson in math. So I pick my topic, I find my grade level and the math that I'm teaching, and I dive right in through Browse by Subjects. I then like to find more content based on more of an integrated search. So for instance, if I was teaching ratios, I could go up here to the keyword search. I could click on that, and then I can find other learning objects on ratios, but from other subjects. And I know you're probably thinking, well, I don't necessarily teach other subjects, but it's very nice to have. So for instance, if I go down here and I search by science, I can see topics that include ratios in the learning objects, but from a different subject area. So if you have a partner teacher that you work closely with, you might suggest to them, hey, I found these great resources on ratios. It'd be really great if maybe we can work together. So if you're thinking about doing that and doing more of an integrated approach, you could search by keyword to find those, to find even more content on ratios. And the last way to find content is through Edwin collections. These are those pre-made collections that we make here at Edwin. Again, you can put ratios in here, and that's going to give you even more content that you can use in your lessons. So that's exploring the Edwin content. The next thing I'm going to show you is how we can create understanding in math using those Edwin math tools. So I'm going to go back to my Edwin, and I'm going to open up learning object that I already have queued. I'm going to open up this one, Exploring the Pythagorean Theorem, just to show you that some of our learning objects are embedded with an interactive Desmos, and this is fantastic when for engagement with students. So here we are in Exploring the Pythagorean Relationship, and you can see that we have Desmos in here, and students can actually play with the data and manipulate it to see how the ratios change in terms of the Pythagorean theorem. Students love to have this integrated interactive learning object that they can play with, and you can search for these interactive learning objects when you are in your libraries. I know for my Nova Scotia educators that are here, we have a lot of interactive learning objects in our libraries. Another thing that I wanted to show you is above and beyond these interactive learning objects, I'm just going to go into my math again, subject area. Here we go, foundations. And I'm going to pull up algebraic modeling. Let's see if I can find it. Actually, I'm going to go here. Bear with me for one moment. I have one learning object that I am thinking of. Oh, there we go. There it is. So some of our learning objects have an accompanying manipulative that students can open up alongside of the learning object. So for this one, we are using algebra tiles to model concepts in this learning object. Students can go over here to Math Tools, click on that, and they have access to all of these fantastic virtual manipulatives that they can use alongside of the learning object, including our Desmos geometry tools, graphing calculator, scientific calculator. For this one, we're looking at algebra tiles. So I can click on algebra tiles and I can pull different tiles over to represent what's happening here in the learning object. And students can expand the learning object so they can see more of it. And then they can expand the workspace so that they can use that as well. This is also great for instructors to model using algebra tiles, and you don't have to open it up in the learning object. You can go through the Tools cup here and you can open up any of the math tools in its own window, which is great if you're going to project it to a screen or share it through a virtual meeting like this. I would recommend going through the Tools cup so that you have the whole window to share. But for students, they like to be within the workspace here. And they can take a screen capture of what they're modeling in the workspace. All of our workspaces have that have that screen capture button. And when they click on it, it saves that image to their computers, and then they can paste it into a Word document or a Google document to then go ahead and share with you, which is a great way for students to show what they understand using these math models. And lastly, just because I'm being very careful of our time, we have about 5 more minutes. I'm just going to go back here. As I said, we have Desmos as one of our math tools. So again, through the Tools cup, if I go to Math Tools, I can access my geometry tools for Desmos, my graphing calculator, my scientific calculator. But if you're looking for those Desmos activities, you can put Desmos into the search engine, the keyword search on our home screens. And when you click on that, you're going to come up with all of our Desmos interactive learning objects. So you can see we have 126 in our Ontario math curriculum alone. So I recommend that you test that out in your own libraries. Put Desmos into the keyword search and you come up with a lot of those embedded Desmos activities already inside of your libraries. So that was quick through the math manipulatives. The last thing I want to talk about is collaborating to create these customized lessons in Edwin. I actually already have one started, so I'm just going to open it up. I'm going to go into my collections, and I have created a collection already on linear systems of equations. I'm going to click on here. Here's the linear systems just to show you how I would do that. So I've already built out my linear systems with Edwin content. And then if I want to add more to this, so if I wanted to take this quizzes, I would just grab the link to share and copy it. This is not anything to do with Edwin. This is, we all use different technology apps. It could be Kahoot. It could be a link to a PowerPoint that you have or Google Slides. And if I want to add that, I go into add items, and any link you have from the internet, you can add here. So I can add this quiz, and I can give my students instructions here and click save, and that's going to put that quiz in my collection. And the great thing about that is that when I share it out to my students, either by grabbing a share link or adding it to my Google Classroom or Teams, when they get that link, it gives them access to all of these resources under that one link. We know that the more links we give to students, the more confused they can get on what they need to do. I really like Edwin for the fact that with one link, they can have access to all of these resources, and I can even add over here on the white part by clicking the pencil, I can add instructions for my students. So I can tell them in one spot, here are the resources that we're using today. Here's what I want you to do with those resources. Read 1 linear systems, 2 complete the activity, and 1.2 finally complete the quiz. And you have that all in one spot. Just wanted to remind you that we have more supports for you. So just remember, you can get more resources for math in the Edwin Educator community. Here's the link to that educator community, and we do have math resources there for you as well. Also, you can go into the Help Center to get any tech support. You can also schedule a consultation with a math Edwin expert like Sherry and I for a one-on-one consultation where we can help you with your particular math needs in your classroom. And with that, just thank you everyone for your time. Please explore more at any point. If you have any questions, you can email me. You'll have my email address. I support lots of teachers in that way, so feel free to reach out. And thanks for joining us today.